Hi, I'm Josh Green, and welcome to another episode of Crash Course World History. Today, culture, period 3. Given, do we have to talk about culture in period 3? Here's the thing about period 3 culture. In the post-classical era, major religions spread across Afro-Eurasia, bringing unity and conflict, as well as economic change to people far and wide. And now, let's hear from my brother Henry Green for some contextualization.
Thanks, Josh. What really made Period 3 unique was the emergence of major trade routes which facilitated the spread of these major world religions. Over the course of history, people have enriched their own societies by trading with others. In the post-classical era, for example, a large network of trading routes emerged, called the Silk Road. This land-based system was also accompanied by another system of exchange across the Indian Ocean. This created a global frontier which made possible the movement of traders, merchants, diplomats, and travelers over broad regions. These migrating people spread material goods, devastating diseases, and major world religions across the Afro-Eurasian frontier.
Four main points we're going to talk about today: Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, and the Mongols. But Mr. Green! Yes, me from the past?
Hi, how's it going?
What's your question? What about the Pacific Oceania people? That's a great question, me from the past. Groups like the Bantus, Mesoamericans, and Pacific Islanders are fascinating groups to learn about, but unfortunately, their cultural influences were not as great as the other groups during Period 3. First, Islam and its consequent civilizations. As the Islamic Empire weakened, Islam spread throughout civilizations like India, Anatolia, West Africa, and Spain, each with varying effects. In the 11th century, Turkic invaders came into northern India and instantly created conflict by destroying Hindu temples. Only about 1/4 of the region converted because of religious conflict with Buddhists and Hindus, yet Muslims governed certain communities. Turkic invaders also brought Islam to Anatolia. Here, however, a much larger part of the population converted, totaling 90% by the time of the Ottoman Empire. Here, too, many Islamic people conflicted with locals. This time, the Muslims got the better end of the stick. Christians had special clothes, taxes, and couldn't carry swords. After Muhammad's death, there was a large schism in Islam, creating two distinct groups, the Sunnis and the Shiites. Sunni Muslims believed that they should be led by the four rightly guided caliphs, elected officials. But the Shia, on the other hand, believed that they should only be led by direct descendants of Muhammad. When we last left the Christians in Period 2, they had just been beaten out by Islam as the major world religion. Oh, it's time for the open letter? Let's see, what do we have today? It's a letter. Let me read it. Your brotherhood, we believe, has long since learned from many accounts that a barbaric fury has deplorably afflicted and laid waste the churches of God in the regions of the Orient. More than this, blasphemous to say, it has even grasped an intolerable servitude, its churches and the holy city of Christ, glorified be his passion and resurrection, grieving with pious concerns at this calamity. We visited the regions of Gaul and devoted ourselves largely to urging the princes of the land and their subjects to free the churches of the East. We solemnly enjoined upon them at the council of Auvergne the accomplishment of such an undertaking as a preparation for the remission of all their sins. And we have constituted our most beloved son Adhemar, Bishop of Puyi, leader of this expedition and undertaking in our stead, so that those who perchance may wish to undertake this journey shall comply with his commands as if they were our own, and submit fully to his loosings or bindings as far as shall seem to belong to such an office. If, moreover, there are any of your people whom God has inspired to this vow, let them know that the Adhemar will set out with the aid of God on the day of the Assumption of the Blessed Mary, and that they can attach themselves to his following. Oh, good Lord, that is a long letter. Clearly, that's not a very happy letter. You see, it came from Pope Urban II. This is a letter telling the Christians that they need to go and reclaim the Holy Lands in a conflict better known as the Crusades. The Crusades were a time of cultural change for Christians. With the Pope calling the Crusades on the Muslim lands, many Christians encountered Muslims that they would not have encountered otherwise, exchanging cultural values all the way from Europe to Muslims and Muslims back to Europe. Along the way, Christians encountered Muslims who they were fighting, and the cultural exchange that took place between them greatly changed Europe and Arabia. Christian Europe was heavily influenced in the post-classical era, and the effects are still seen in life today. Now on to Buddhism and its vibrant cultural exchanges. Get it? Because of Nirvana? Beginning in India, Buddhism traveled quickly throughout Central and East Asia with the help of the Silk Road. This was made possible by Buddhist merchants traveling and trading across the Silk Road. The interesting thing about Buddhism is that it spread widely, uniting and dividing many cultures along the way. In the second period, the Sун dynasty in China was devoutly Buddhist, but at the dawn of the third period, Buddhism fell sharply with the rise of the Tang dynasty. This is because Neo-Confucianism took over after Empress Wu's reign. This brought on xenophobia towards Buddhism, as Buddhists were not taxed, prompting the destruction of monasteries and forcing Buddhism underground. Now, Buddhism remained mainly suppressed for the rest of Period 3. In Southeast Asia, however, Buddhism helped unite cultures. Indians visited the Malay Islands and traded with the native people, sparking a plethora of cultural exchange. Great. Now it's time for everyone's favorite world history topic. The Mongols! Once the Mongols conquered all of the Asian steppe, destroying everything in their path, they were able to establish substantial and sophisticated cultural exchange. The Mongols, who highly prioritized a good trade market, revitalized the Silk Road and all exchange among it, bringing back the expansive trade market that had existed on it for hundreds of years. And as we've learned today, trade and cultural exchange go hand in hand. Now that the Mongols had a huge united empire, they were able to advance medicine, travel, and create new weapons, like hand grenades. As great as the Mongols were, their empire only lasted about 80 years. Although the empire may have disappeared, their cultural influences did not. In addition to their innovations, the Mongols were very receptive of cultures they encountered. They were one of the only empires in history that did not imperialize a religion. As we learned today, cultures and religion in the post-classical era facilitated unity, conflict, and major economic growth for peoples and states throughout Period 3. Thanks for watching. This is Crash Course World History. Thanks to Miles Keefe, Andy Bass, Joe McDonough, Henry Boudreau, and Streetcar Chicken LaPatty. I'm your host, Josh Green, signing off.